Welcome back to our channel, where we record the most brutal journeys, the most authentic and amazing moments of fishermen around the world. In today's video, we invite you to the wild and fierce seas off the coast of Japan, where resilient fishermen are pursuing one of the most dangerous and mysterious creatures in the ocean, moray eels, giant stone eels with long bodies, razor-sharp teeth and incredible strength in each struggle. Let's follow this special journey, where fishing lines tens of meters long are dropped into the deep sea, where each strong pull is a life and death battle between humans and sea monsters. As soon as the sun has just appeared on the horizon, traditional Japanese fishing boats have begun to leave the port. Unlike tuna or mackerel fishing fleets with modern technology, moray eel hunting trips require delicacy, feeling every vibration through the tip of the fishing line, and absolute perseverance. The most experienced fishermen will be the ones to directly control the fishing rod. Because if they are slow for just a second, the moray can hide in a cave, or worse, counterattack with a surprise bite. Japanese fishermen often choose rocky areas, coral reef areas or cliffs near the deep sea, where moray eels live in seclusion in the crevices of rocks. Locating eel caves is an art passed down from generation to generation. They observe the water currents, feel the salinity, the current and even the feedback sound when throwing a test lead. Only those who have been attached to the sea all their lives are sensitive enough to know exactly where the eels are. After choosing a fishing spot, they prepare special long fishing lines with very high tensile strength, large and extremely sharp iron hooks, because moray eels have very thick skin and teeth so sharp that they can bite through poor quality hooks, instead of using live bait such as squid or small fish. They choose dead bait with strong odors such as rotten mackerel or animal liver, because moray eels are strongly attracted to the strong fishy smell in the water. The fishing lines are tied tightly to the iron anchor on the side of the boat, and each hook is carefully lowered to the seabed. The first feeling when the moray eel takes the bait is not a strong jerk, but a continuous gentle shaking, as if the animal is probing. The fishermen hold the line tightly, feeling each signal transmitted through the tip of the line like an artist feeling the rhythm. And then suddenly, a fierce pull makes the whole boat shake. The moray eel has taken the bait. At this time, no one talks anymore. All attention is focused on the line. Each pull is a gamble. If you pull too hard, the hook might tear the eel's mouth and slip off. If you're slow, the eel will crawl back into the cave and tighten the line, trapping it forever. On one of these fishing trips, we witnessed a battle that lasted more than 10 minutes just to pull a nearly 2-meter-long moray eel out of the water. As soon as its black head emerged from the waves, everyone had to work together to pull it onto the boat. One fisherman used an iron hook to hook the body to hold it, while the other used a wooden mallet to hit the eel's head to make it lose its resistance, despite being hooked and hit hard.
Not the gun, Alex, the gun! Not the fin!
The eel still struggled fiercely, tossing and turning like a sea dragon, its body wrapped around the person's arm, making terrifying noises. After being pulled onto the deck, the eel was immediately placed on a large wooden board and held tightly by 2 people. Another person uses a sharp knife to cut off the head, making sure the eel cannot resist. Processing moray eels at sea is an art. It must be done quickly so as not to make the meat black or too fishy. They skin the eel by making a cut along its back and then using pliers to pull the entire skin off like peeling off a layer of clothing. The eel skin is very thick, slippery and slimy, but when prepared, it becomes a specialty dish in high-end restaurants in Japan. Moray eel meat is white, fragrant, rich in protein and has a special chewy texture. The eel fillets are neatly arranged in ice buckets to preserve freshness. The eel heads and bones are not thrown away, they are used to make broth, porridge or special sauces with a strong sea flavor. Each eel can bring in an economic value of $300 to $700 United States dollars depending on size and freshness. And when the last murrays of the day are stowed away in ice boxes, when the sea begins to turn the orange-red color of dusk, the fishing boats begin to move further out towards the deep waters offshore, where giant fish are moving with the ocean currents. No longer are there gentle tugs from the rocky bottom in this sea. Each tug of the line is a fierce battle of pure strength, because here, what the Japanese fishermen are aiming for is none other than the giant bluefin tuna, the fish known as black gold of the sea. Without nets, without using artificial bait, these men only hold a fishing line dozens of meters long, hook a small fish as live bait, then drop it into the deep blue ocean. They said nothing, just stared at the calm sea, waiting for the fateful bite, when the giant tuna rushed up from the depths, grabbed the bait tightly and pulled the line taut as if to tear the boat apart. The atmosphere on the deck seemed to freeze at this moment. Everyone held their breath as the line began to tighten, then vibrate violently. The sound of the spinning wheel screeched. The line quickly slipped from the reel, signaling the beginning of a real battle. The fishermen immediately held the handle tightly, their whole bodies leaning back to maintain balance. Their feet hooked tightly into the grooves of the wooden floor. Under the deep sea, the tuna was struggling madly. Pulling hundreds of meters of line in an effort to escape. The first pull was always the most shocking, jerks that could knock the angler off his feet if he was not experienced. But they were used to it. They took their time, little by little, using their body weight, arm strength, and even mental endurance to pull the fish closer to the surface. Each time the rope was pulled back, their wrists ached, their entire bodies ached, but their eyes remained steadfast. Looking towards the black dot that was gradually appearing under the deep blue water. Then that moment came, a giant body, shimmering silver, its dorsal fin raised high like a sword tip, the bluefin tuna. It spun violently, hitting the water surface, creating a sound that echoed in the air like a firecracker. The last person pulling the rope shouted loudly, and immediately, his teammates used a large iron hook, stabbed straight into the head near the gills of the fish. Pulling it onto the deck with all the muscular strength accumulated from decades of seafaring. The tuna was more than 2 meters long, weighing nearly 200 kilograms, lying motionless on the wooden floor, blood flowing out with each neat slash. But in the eyes of the fishermen, it was not a bloody scene, but a victory. It was the end of a duel between humans and the ocean. They don't shout in celebration. They just silently bow their heads, tighten their grip on the line, breathe a sigh of relief and prepare for the next catch. Because out there are still many other tuna lurking under the vast waves. The tuna is butchered right on the deck to keep it as fresh as possible. Each fillet is bright red as blood, sweet and firm, cut with a sharp Japanese knife, then put in a specialized icebox. The grade of tuna, with perfect fat marbling, will be taken straight to the Tsukiji fish market. And when the last bluefin tuna were neatly stored in the cold storage. When the fishermen on the boat were drenched in sweat after pulling their arms as tight as a guitar string. They sat together for a while, quickly took a sip of water, but before they could breathe a sigh of relief, the radio from the cabin rang out, a new signal from the distant exploration ship. A large school of fish was moving with the ocean currents. Thousands of them, stretching across the ocean floor. Without a second's hesitation, the entire boat changed direction. The engine roared. And in the blink of an eye, the giant net hunt began. This time it was no longer a one-on-one battle, but an industrial-scale sweep, where people used their intelligence, techniques and close coordination to collect hundreds of tons of fish in a day. The ship was dozens of meters long, equipped with an automatic net dropping system, hydraulic cranes, towing cables and modern sonar positioning equipment, all working together like a giant machine in the middle of the ocean. When the radar confirms that the fish are in the right place, the command to drop the nets is given. The nets, up to 1 kilometer long, are lowered into the water, drifting slowly like an invisible wall, surrounding the fish from all sides. The fishermen run along the sides of the boat, checking every knot, every piece of rope, holding the reels tight as the water begins to tighten. From above, looking down, you will see a giant arc gradually closing, and inside it, a living silver whirlwind of hundreds of thousands of struggling fish. As soon as the circle closes, everything happens extremely quickly. The net reeling system is activated, and meter after meter of the giant net is rolled in, carrying the heavy masses of fish, their silver bodies sparkling in the sunlight, the water splashing like rain. The fishermen stand in rows, each holding a position, one operating the crane, one standing to remove the fish, one operating the fish suction pump, one operating the conveyor belt that carries the fish into the cold storage. Fish weighing from a few kilos to tens of kilos, mackerel, amberjack, sardines, swordfish, even halibut mixed in, were all sucked straight from the net onto the deck through the industrial suction system, pouring down like a living waterfall. Every few minutes, a few more tons of fish were brought up onto the deck, piling up like mountains, spilling over the deck, forcing the fishermen to use shovels to push them all to one side. The fishy smell, the whirring of the machines, the shouts calling each other amid the crashing waves, and the sound of the fish splashing around created a bustling, chaotic, and breathtaking scene. No one had time to rest. No one was distracted, because if they were slow, the net would tear, the fish would escape, or worse, the tow line could break the steel mast on the ship. Everything operated like a machine, and each person was a cog in that machine. Just like that, for hours on end, the fish were brought up without stopping. When the first freezer compartment is full, they open the second compartment. When the second compartment is full, they use dry ice to cover the surface of the fish. In the steel tank. Technicians constantly measure the temperature, keeping all the fish below 0 degrees Celsius, ensuring absolute freshness when they arrive at port. A single haul can bring in between 50 and 150 tons of fish. Depending on the size of the school and weather conditions, there are days when they can catch up to 200 tons of fish in one haul, a huge amount, enough to supply dozens of seafood processing plants on shore. But there are also days when it's just a few tons. It's a game of chance that the ocean offers to those who dare to stay. Step out and bet. As the sunset begins to turn the sea purple, the hold is so full that it can't hold any more. The men were drenched in sweat, their hands and feet covered with fish scales, their shirts worn out, leaning against the ship's walls, looking at the results like warriors who had just finished a great battle. No one complained, no one said much, because they knew that tomorrow, the sun would rise again, the sea would test them again, and they, the fishermen, would continue their relentless journey of making a living.